My name is Annie, and welcome to the Walking Word, where we go through the Holy Bible in a year as part of discipling. We are currently in the book of First Kings, the first book of Kings, and we are in chapter 11, where we're going to see the sins of Solomon. Did he actually walk in the statutes of the Lord like his father David and his fathers before that? But listen to this. King Solomon loved many foreign women besides the daughter of Pharaoh. Besides his wife, he loved many other women: Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Sidonians, and Hittites, from the nations which the Lord had forbidden the Israelites to intermarry, because he said, they will turn your hearts to their gods. Why did God tell them not to marry? Because when you get into marriage, you start worshiping each other's gods. Whoa. And they will turn your heart to their gods. But Solomon fell in love with them. He had 700 wives of princely rank, prince, like he wasn't just going for any chick. He was going for the creme of the creme, children of princes and leaders and the high and mighty in society. No, he wasn't just going for your backyard alley girl. He was really going for the top cream babes. And so so these 700 wives were of princely rank, and 300 concubines, and his wives actually did turn his heart. Verse 4, when Solomon was old, his wives had turned his heart to strange gods, and his heart was not entirely with the Lord his God, as the heart of his father David had been. By adoring Astarte, which is also Asherah, which is Oshun. She just comes in different names, but it's the same demon. Astarte, which is Asherah, which is Ishtar, which is Oshun, which she just camouflages. And at the end of it all, if we look at it in scripture, she actually has a deep root in Jezebel, which God sort of culminates by saying all wickedness. She carries all wickedness. And that's why in the book of Revelation, she's carried off to Babylon. But let's listen. By adoring Astarte, the goddess of the Sidonians, and Milcom, the idol of the Ammonites, Solomon did evil in the sight of the Lord. He did not follow him unreservedly as his father David had done. And unreservedly, remember Caleb? Caleb was courageous and trusted in the Lord unreservedly, like without holding it back, without holding any part of himself back. Verse 7, Solomon then built a high place to Chemosh, the idol of Moab, and to Molech, the idol of the Ammonites, on the hill opposite Jerusalem. He did the same for all the foreign wives, because all of them were just worshiping different gods. So he just built altars for all these different guys, all these different demons, basically, and fallen angels. Right opposite Jerusalem. Then remember, the law is, if the temple is in Jerusalem and you're building an altar opposite the temple, that means you are worshiping. And the Lord's instructions were very clear. When you worship facing Jerusalem. Now, all these other temples that are opposite Jerusalem, they're worshiping facing away from Jerusalem. And there are certain religions of the world which are still doing that today. So, anywho. Solomon then built a high place to Chemosh, the idol of Moab, and to Molech, and to the idol who's the idol of the Ammonites, on the hill opposite Jerusalem. He did the same for all his foreign wives, who burned incense and sacrificed to their gods. The Lord therefore became angry with Solomon, because his heart was turned away from the Lord, the God of Israel, who had appeared to him twice. For though the Lord had forbidden him this very act of following strange gods, Solomon did not obey. So the Lord said to Solomon, since this is what you want, and you have not kept my covenant and my statutes, which I enjoined on you, I will deprive you of the kingdom and give it to your servant. I will not do this during your lifetime. However, for the sake of your father David, it is your own son whom I will deprive. Nor will I take away the whole kingdom. So I won't take away everything from you, but I will deprive you of something. And this is the mercy of God, that as much as he's punishing you, there's mercy still attached to it. And that was the prayer of David. God, when now he's done the census and he now repents, realizing, oh my God, I was trying to count the people so that I can see how much I match up to God, which is the underlying pride, if you think about it. And the prayer for David was when God gave him options to choose a punishment. And David's answer was just like, you know what, God, I choose this because at least it's in your hands. I'd rather be punished, but punished in your hands, for that's where mercy lives as well. Yeah. Anyway, let's continue. Verse 11. Verse 12. I won't do this during your lifetime. However, for the sake of because of his agreement, because of the covenant God had with David, it is your own son I will deprive, nor will I take away the whole kingdom. I will leave your son one tribe for the sake of my servant David, and for Jerusalem, which I have chosen. The Lord then raised up an adversary to Solomon, Hadad the Edomite. Edom, remember, from the tribe of Esau, who was of the royal line of Edom. Royal line. So that means he goes all the way back to Esau. Earlier, when David had conquered Edom, Joab, the general of the army, while going to bury the slain, put to death every male in Edom. Joab and all Israel remained there 6 months until they had killed off every male in Edom. Meanwhile, Hadad, who was only a boy then, fled to Egypt with some Edomite servants of his father. They left Midian and passing through Paran, where they picked up additional men. They went into Egypt to Pharaoh, king of Egypt, who gave Hadad a house, appointed him rations, and assigned him land. Hadad won favor with Pharaoh. Interesting how Egypt has always fed the children of Jacob, the children of Israel, isn't it? That Jacob's lineage found its place in Egypt, but so did Esau's. So he gave him in marriage to his sister, Queen Tahpenes, his own wife. Tahpenes' sister bore Hadad a son, Genubath. After his winning, the queen kept him in Pharaoh's palace, where he then lived with Pharaoh's own sons. When Hadad in Egypt heard that David rested with his ancestors and that Joab, the general of the army, was dead, he said to Pharaoh, give me leave to return to my own country. Pharaoh said to him, what do you lack with me, that you are seeking to return to your own country? Nothing, he said, but please let me go. God raised up Solomon another adversary in Rezon, the son of Eliada, who had fled from his lord Hadadezer, king of Zobah. When David defeated them with slaughter, Rezon gathered men about him and became leader of a band, went to Damascus, settled there, and became king in Damascus. He was an enemy of Israel as long as Solomon lived. This added to the harm done by Hadad, who made a rift in Israel by becoming king over Edom. Solomon's servant Jeroboam, son of Nebat. Whenever I remember Jeroboam, son of Nebat, you will hear his name throughout scripture. It's crazy. Solomon's servant Jeroboam, son of Nebat, an Ephraimite from Zereda, with a widowed mother, Zeruah, also rebelled against the king. This is why he rebelled. King Solomon was building Milo. Remember the hold that was on the wall of Jerusalem, closing up the breach of his father's city of David. Jeroboam was a man of means, so he had some little money. He was quite loaded. And when Solomon saw that he was also an industrious young man, he put him in charge of the entire labor force of the house of Joseph. At that time, Jeroboam left Jerusalem, and the prophet Ahijah the Shilomite met him on the road. The two were alone in the area, and the prophet was wearing a cloak. Ahijah took off his new cloak, tore it into 12 pieces, and said to Jeroboam, "Take 10 pieces for yourself. The Lord, the God of Israel, says, I will tear away the kingdom from Solomon's grasp and will give you 10 tribes. One tribe shall remain to him for the sake of David my servant and of Jerusalem, the city I have chosen out of all tribes of Israel. Then 10 I will give you, because he has forsaken me and has worshipped Astarte, goddess of the Sidonians, Chemosh, god of Moab, Milcom, god of Ammonites. He has not followed my ways or done what is pleasing to me according to my statutes and decrees, as his father David did. Yet I will not take any of the kingdom from Solomon himself, but I will keep him a prince as long as he lives, for the sake of my servant David," the covenant-keeping God. He just keeps on remembering the covenant he had with David. It actually, at this point, has nothing to do with Solomon, because Solomon has chosen wickedness. But because God is a covenant-keeping God, he just sticks to the fact that this is about David. This is about my agreement with David. Verse 34, "Yet I will not take any of the kingdom from Solomon himself, but I will keep him a prince as long as he lives, for the sake of my servant David, whom I chose, who kept my commandments and statutes. But I will take the kingdom from his son and will give it to you, that is, the 10 tribes. I will give his son one tribe, that my servant David may always have a lamp before me in Jerusalem." So that David may always have access to my table before Jerusalem, before me. He might always have access. Everything can be taken away, but the lineage of David will always have a seat at the table of the Lord. The city which I choose to be honored. I will take you, and you shall reign over all that you desire, and shall become king of Israel. If then you heed all that I command you, follow my ways, and please me by keeping my statutes and my commandments like my servant David, I will be with you. I will establish you as I did for David, a lasting dynasty. I will give Israel to you. I will punish David's line for this, but not forever. I will punish them, yes, because he's a just God. We just don't get away with anything. In fact, in life, we don't get away with anything. When Solomon tried to have Jeroboam killed for his rebellion, he escaped to King Shishak in Egypt, where he remained until Solomon's death. The rest of the acts of Solomon, with all his deeds and wisdom, are recorded in the book of the Chronicles of Solomon. So we are being told there's a book actually called the Chronicles of Solomon. So there are very many books of the Bible. Not all of them are in circulation, but we do know, because scripture here keeps on giving us, and in the book of Kings, I think we'll see many of that. There's a book that is mentioned, that the Chronicles of Kings. Then we have this book which is called the Acts of Solomon. The time that Solomon reigned in Jerusalem, the book of Jasher, that's also in the book. The book of Joshua, this is also mentioned in scripture. But we don't have it in circulation. The time that Solomon reigned in Jerusalem over Israel was 40 years. Solomon rested with his ancestors. He was buried in his father's city of David, and his son Rehoboam succeeded him as king. Let's move to chapter 12, where we see the separation or succession in Israel.